all across the world. I don't know where you guys are watching from. It'd be kind of cool to know, though, wouldn't it? If you're watching from someplace other than the state of Kentucky, drop a comment below in the chat. Or if you're watching this afterwards, after the live stream, drop it down in the comments. We'd like to know where you guys are listening to us from. We're the Trifecta Sports Podcast. As always, we're here to help you win your fantasy football leagues. My name is Frank. I'm here with David and Coop. We just talked about it off the air really quick. This is the first time all fantasy football season that all three of us did not win our matchup this week. So, super unfortunate times. We'll talk about what went down. Got quite a bit of things to talk about now with, some injuries going on and things like that. But before we get started, we're going to hit you with the intro music. I'll let you boy. Oh, Josh Weaver, welcome to the show, buddy. As always, if you're going to help me, pray. If you're the praying kind, pray for Josh Weaver. I just said we all three of us lost our matchups this week, and your boy had AJ Brown. So how does that happen? Don't know.
That's impressive.
It is impressive. Close. There was a time where I had like a 70% chance of winning, like halfway through the day, and then it just went downhill.
That's when your defense starts their game. Those projections go completely.
No. My defense went from like 40 points down to 2, and right. I still had 70%.
When that game kicks off, your defense has 40 points, so it skews your projections.
But I'm talking about like toward the end of it, like after that game was almost over. So, I will say this: I know we have a lot to talk about DJ Moore on this show. Just start off with the show with. I know Weaver and Coop and Dave, we all talked about, DJ Moore as a prospect of fantasy football. He is finally coming into his own, and who would have thought it would take, PJ Washington or whatever his name is. PJ, what's his name? I don't even fucking know his name. PJ Walker. PJ Washington, played for Kentucky. Go Cats. Basketball team, anyway. It was a tough weekend for a Cats fan, fellas. If you can see him, and we had this comment, I'm still rocking it. Rocky top. Definitely.
Oh, don't say that.
Definitely rocked our top. That's for damn sure. Up 15 going into the game. Mixon for me, Chubb for opponent. Ooh. Mixon got some touches, but Chubb already scored a touchdown and 2-point conversion.
Yep.
Yeah. That's a pretty tough week, Weaver. I'm not gonna lie. 2 top scores in the same week playing each other. That happens sometimes. Yeah, PJ Walker. Who would have thought that the Panthers had an answer at quarterback other than Baker Mayfield? Everybody other than Baker Mayfield knew that was the option. But with that being said, DJ Moore obviously turned into a must start in the last couple weeks. Dude's getting some volume. Dude's getting some scores, racking up points. Another crazy stat that I saw that it kind of pissed me off because I have both of these players on my team, and Khalil Herbert has averaged more fantasy points per game than Jonathan Taylor. So there's that.
Yeah.
Not only do I have Khalil Herbert and David Montgomery and Jonathan Taylor, I always end up starting the wrong one. I started Montgomery this week, Herbert with the score. And the problem is Montgomery is getting more work, but Herbert is making the most of his work that he got. So they both get 15, 16 carries a game. And last week, Montgomery got all the touches out of the backfield for receiving, but Herbert with the score put him over the top.
You see, Pollard and Zeke. But I think it's Pollard and Zeke, but it's not to that extent. I think it's you look at Herbert's stats. The past 2 weeks, he's gone off, but it's been mostly garbage time against the second string defenses, and I think that's where he's kind of getting – he has fantasy value, clearly, because he's on a bad Bears team.
Mm-hmm.
But that's my question is it really because Herbert's better, or is it because Montgomery's just out there grinding for every single yard he has against top-tier defenses, and then it's like, well, we're losing by 3 scores. Might as well put Herbert in and try and save Montgomery since he already is injury-prone.
That you may be correct, but who gives a crap when you're talking about fantasy football points about how you get them, as long as you get them, right? That's the thing.
But as a Montgomery owner, it sucks.
I have both of them. Like, do I start both of them? Hell, I about did. Also started Bateman over Duvernay.
Please do not ever start 2 running backs on the same team.
I might do it next week just for shits and giggles.
Oh, God.
I also have both top wide receivers from Baltimore as well, Bateman and Duvernay.
Top wide receiver is a stretch.
Hey, well,
Bateman's out for a few weeks now, so
that makes my job a little easier, right?
Yeah.
Duvernay, had like a big 32-point game for us this week, in our league anyway. Sitting on the bench, just how, big chunks of points belong there. A couple of starts for me here and there. I start who I'm supposed to. I think it just happens the way it happens. People don't. I don't know. I get tore up about it, but I need to stop getting tore up about it and just play the team play the people that 100% of people would start over any of the other people on my bench, and then just see where it goes.
Yeah. Duvernay was one we called out preseason because he wasn't drafted in most leagues, but where he's starting to steal a little value is what I kind of highlighted is that rushing upside.
Yeah, for sure.
Like I said, he might get you 100 yards throughout the course of a season, a touchdown or two. Last 4 weeks, he's had 5 carries, 57 yards, and a score on the ground. So, that's very small week to week. But if he can get those chunks, I mean, it really skews what you see when you look at his receiving line, where he's never had more than 7 targets in a game.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And the problem with them is, their rushing attack is dependent on where Lamar Jackson takes them. Their running back room is brittle, it seems. Like J.K. Dobbins is doing really well, but all the rest of those guys, they're hit or miss. And Dobbins is, he could get hurt any minute now. That's just the way he is.
Well, he is hurt because he's on my team. I think I'm changing my team name this week to the IR because my team, just looking at it right now, I didn't start Kareem Hunt this week because I was for sure he was going to get traded and not play, which didn't happen. But, looking at J.K. Dobbins, Deebo Samuel, Javonte Williams, and Carson Wentz all on my bench that are out or on the IR, my team is done for. I had high hopes for making the playoff runs. I don't even know if I'm going to make the playoffs anymore.
Hot start. You're 3-0.
Well, yeah, I had the top, 2 top 10 quarterbacks, and now I have Tom Brady, who's a divorced 45-year-old male that's going out to bars looking for 20-year-olds and
living in a van down by the river.
Yeah, and I got long neck Davis Mills, doing his best for me.
That is a cool team name. Dave's team name is the Long Necks, and that's awesome.
Yeah, it's a beer long neck beer logo.
Weaver played Wandale over Rondale, or I wouldn't be stressing tonight. That sounds like a Cat in the Hat story right there, Dr. Seuss. So I played Wandale too. Not good.
I would have made the same decision. I probably wouldn't have played Rondale Moore over Wandale Robinson.
A little bit of a tongue twister. He's asking about AJ. I did not see that AJ Brown got random drug tested.
Because it wasn't random.
Yeah, it's just definitely never random. It's like that guy that kicked like a 78-yard punt that one time. I forget what team he played for. It might have been the Saints, but he got random drug tested the next morning. That's not random. He said also McPherson missed a field goal. So, whoopee, go Bengals. How you guys feeling about the future of fantasy football? Let's talk about the big things that's happened recently. We've got Christian McCaffrey's, obviously huge role now, passing touchdown, rushing touchdown, and receiving touchdown in the game. Picked up right where he left off on a better team. They beat the Rams this week, which they've always had the Rams number in the regular season. We've talked about Jimmy G not being the Super Bowl quarterback, but does he have Super Bowl players around him that could help him get there?
Yeah,
I think he does too.
100%.
He's been to the Super Bowl. He's just not. Jimmy G's not going to win the Super Bowl. I think it was what we agreed on last week.
But other people will.
There's a distinction between can you win a Super Bowl with Jimmy G and can Jimmy G win you a Super Bowl?
Exactly.
He's not going to be the reason you win, but you 100% with this team construction can win a Super Bowl with him as your quarterback.
I agree with that.
Absolutely. I mean, look at Nick Foles. I mean, he's nowhere near an MVP candidate, and he went and took his team as a backup to win the Super Bowl because that Eagles defense was so stout back in, I think, was that 19 or 18. So I think the 49ers have Super Bowl. I think it's Super Bowl bust. NFC is wide open. If they can keep people healthy, which I think Shanahan even said in his post-game presser, like, finally I can announce no injuries during the game. I would say they're right now the NFC favorites if they can get past Geno Smith and the Seahawks.
It's Eagles until it's not.
I agree. It's Eagles, and then I think you got a pretty clear top 4. I think Dallas, and I would still put Minnesota up there. They're just so explosive offensively, and they've been better than we expected on defense. So Darius Smith is leading the league in sacks right now, and we thought he was kind of done after his time in Baltimore.
Yeah, Big Z, baby! Anyway, question from Weaver. Big trade happened this week. Kadarius Toney magically got healthy really quick and went from the New York Giants to the Kansas City Chiefs in a trade. I think he just traded for picks, right? Nobody left in return. I don't know the exact terms, but I thought the Chiefs were going to go after somebody like Odell Beckham. They cleared cap space with restructuring of Travis Kelce's contract. I thought that they were trying to make room for somebody big. Is Kadarius Toney the answer they're looking for? I don't know. The dude's obviously very talented. First round draft pick out of Florida, I believe. Did he play Florida?
Yes.
Yeah.
I played in Florida. Super talented. Just didn't really work out for him in New York. If he's going to work out anywhere, it's going to be with somebody like Patrick Mahomes. They're looking for that guy that kind of, other than Mecole Hardman, that takes the Tyreek Hill role. I don't think anybody can take Tyreek Hill's place, but they can have a number of different players fill certain aspects of his role, by committee per se. But I think his role is going to be a little bit bigger, but I don't know if it's going to play like a fantasy role. It's kind of hard to pick up Chiefs wide receivers. If you don't got Travis Kelce, I wouldn't really hit up any of the rest of them. Would you?
I think once they say he's a full go, he is the most explosive receiver they have. So week to week is going to be hard.
Yeah.
We just haven't seen that out of him. We haven't even seen him play week to week. Like, he's been injured for 2 years. But talent-wise, I mean, look at some of the touches he's had with the Giants this year. He's making like 10 guys miss, but he's only going 8 yards because the team just wasn't putting him in a position to do anything. He is electric with the ball, and putting him in that offense with somebody who can get it to him anywhere, I think he could have monster games. It's going to be hard to rely on him. I went out and picked him up. Like, I've had to find a spot on my roster for him as soon as the trade happened, just because of what he could be. I mean, this was a first-round pick.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree. I think for me, the troubling thought here is Mecole Hardman was finally getting traction. He was always the gadget guy 2.0, the Tyreek 2.0, but he never really was. He never kind of stepped up, but we're kind of see the Chiefs giving him more of that offensive roles, giving him the jet sweeps and all that, gadget stuff where he was finding the end zone. That's where I'm kind of confused with this move is, Toney's been hurt for 2 years. I don't know if he's even played in consecutive games in this point in his career. So maybe the Chiefs just thought, hey, he could be a dude, buy low, see what happens. But, I do think it's a good move for the Chiefs because their wide receivers have been pretty much awful. MVS is not a deep threat. Juju's not Juju that he was 4 years ago. So
I thought they were going to go make a big splash and do somebody like I said, OBJ or somebody like that. And they still might, but I don't understand why you would go get all of those people. They're just kind of picking up scraps at that point, and still, I mean, they're still going to win with them. But
it's Andy Reid. This might be the splash. I mean, what is OBJ 30 with a bad knee? Like, Kadarius Toney might be more valuable to an NFL team right now than an OBJ.
Yeah. And he's still on a rookie contract. Odell's at that stage in his career where he wants money. He wants guaranteed money.
Yeah, he wants that Michael Gallup money.
Yeah.
Speaking of the Cowboys, I talk crap about Dak all the time, and I will continue to do so. But Dalton Schultz saw an uptick in production this week out of the tight end spot. I knew that was going to happen once Dak came back because Dak is the reason why he was a top 10 tight end before the season started anyway. So if you're looking for a tight end, there you go. Picked up Greg D. Worked out for me. Didn't really nothing major, nothing huge, but a solid start out of a tight end off of the waivers this week. Still hanging on to Gerald Everett. Was on a bye week this week, so I'm glad I got that pickup. Weaver's got a question for basically off the Rams. We don't know anything that the Rams are trying to do. It's weird to me. I just don't see it. Cooper Kupp got injured. I don't know how the extent of that injury is. I know that he was on the opposing team. Zach had him this week. Torched it like he always does. The dude had like 70 points in the first half.
He's hurt. Did we see? I thought I saw something soft tissue.
Yeah, I think he expects to play Sunday, but what that means is, he's probably going to play. Probably going to look no different than what he did before.
Yeah.
But he's talking about Darrell Henderson. Will he be relevant this year, or will the Rams get a trade before tomorrow? The big rumor going around was that the Rams were going after Kareem Hunt, which is why David said that he didn't trade for him. And it could happen tomorrow. You never know. Kareem Hunt can get traded in the middle of the game tonight.
Well,
maybe Ronnie Rivers is the guy going forward.
They said he was sick.
Kareem Hunt?
Yeah. No, Henderson.
Oh, I thought he's like Kareem Hunt got sick and they took him to the locker. Dude's getting traded. It's like those guys getting traded in MLB games right in the middle of the game. That's so awesome. I love it.
No, but on my point for Henderson, we saw what Travis Etienne did this week. He ditched the handcuffs. He broke off. He had 150 yards in a score. It's like I don't understand what these teams are doing when they do the split back stuff. We've talked about, or me and Frank are baseball guys. You get that kind of comfort when you have the same batting lineup. You know who's hitting in front of you. You know who's hitting behind you. And it's like, for me, it's like, I didn't play football that much growing up, but it's like, I feel like if you have Le'Veon Bell in the backfield, you know how to block for him because he's going to be slow, juke around, take his time. And I feel like it's got to be really hard for linemen just to figure out the running styles on who's even behind them. And so I don't understand why, I think Sean McVay, clearly it's been a thing where Shanahan gets in his head, two best friends, they overhype it in their heads and they try and do too much. But I just don't understand how it was Akers was the dude. Then Henderson got the ball the first game. Then it was Akers' team. Oh, Akers not with the team anymore. It's Henderson's backfield. No, now it's Rivers' turn. It's like, it is so confusing. It's like, I'm sure Matt Stafford needs all the help he can get. We can see all the old quarterbacks struggling this year. And it's like the one consistent thing with all good teams right now in the NFC, we just talked about the Eagles, the 49ers, the Vikings, all those teams have great running games. Mm-hmm. But yet here we are with the Rams, reigning Super Bowl champs, and we don't even know who to start in fantasy football.
The biggest issue for me, the Rams are dead last in the NFL in rushing yards. Dead last. And they're not really featuring running backs in the passing game. It's Cooper Kupp, it's Higbee, and I don't know. Stafford is only throwing to certain people even when they're not open. So I just don't see any running back, one, taking over the running back room, and two, getting enough volume that's going to mean anything. I mean, Henderson's under 4 yards a carry on the year. He's got 2 touchdowns. He's played in every game they have. I just don't think LA's run game is good enough to make you feel good about starting any of those guys, even if they take it over and get 60, 70% of the snap share.
Yeah, there's other good running backs out there. Speaking of good running backs, PJ from YouTube has a question. Should he trade Joe Mixon for Josh Jacobs? Straight up.
Yeah, I think this is a good week to get Jacobs after that goose egg that Vegas put up.
Josh Jacobs is running the ball arguably better than anybody else in the league right now. With a Vegas Raiders team that's struggling a little bit to find their identity, they're going to rely on something of consistency, and right now it's Josh Jacobs. Mixon is going to get his touches. I think, you might see Joe Mixon outscore Josh Jacobs a couple games. Hell, he might come out the second half today and score 2 touchdowns, catch, 6-7 balls for 80 yards. That stuff's going to happen with Joe Mixon, especially with Jamar Chase being out. But Josh Jacobs is going to give you consistent work, which is funny because at the beginning of the year, we were talking about Josh Jacobs like falling down the depth chart and getting traded, getting cut, getting waived. But now look at him.
Actually,
dude is firing on all cylinders.
I think I'm going to go the opposite way here. I'm going to say no. I think Joe Mixon outperforms Josh Jacobs the rest of the year, and I think it's strictly based off matchups. The Colts, they play the Colts, the Broncos, the Chargers, the Rams, the Patriots, the Steelers, and the 49ers. And, you mix in the Chiefs and the Seahawks in there and the Jaguars. Like, I only like 3 of those matchups for them. I think that they're playing great defenses. And I think, I just don't see the Raiders offense clicking as well as it has been unless they get Devontae the touches. I think Joe Mixon has a better matchup going forward, and I think that's more important right now in this stage of the season. You're looking for those points. And I don't want to face Josh Jacobs against the Broncos or anybody else scares me more than Joe Mixon would.
2 things I'll throw out in favor of Jacobs. One, he's already had his bye week. Mixon hasn't. So you get an extra week of play out of Jacobs. And Mixon has been under 3.5 yards a carry in 6 out of 8 games. Like, we just know the efficiency isn't there. Even games he's got 20 carries, 27 carries week 1, 82 yards. 24 carries week 4, 61 yards. Like, when Josh Jacobs gets 20 carries, it's 140 and a touchdown or 2. I just think that if Vegas can play in a positive enough game script, which is exactly your point, that if they can't compete with those teams, he's going to get phased out usage-wise. I think he's a more effective running back at this stage.
I agree with Coop. I just base it off of consistency and what you're going to get. Like, both of them are going to get their carries, but I don't know if Mixon's – the run game in Cincinnati is just not good. Mixon's getting his usage out of the backfield, but if you're in a PPR league, that might be something you value. Weavers says Jacobs' health concerns him. Weaver's also got Mixon on his team. He says, "Way to bring me down on Mixon, Coop. Trying to win this week, buddy. Positivity goes a long way." Yeah, for sure, man. PJ, appreciate the comment, man. Hope we helped you out.
The only other thing that I will bring out about that is, we're talking about the Raiders in that positive game script. They're sitting at 2-5 right now. McDaniels, is he on the hot seat yet? I don't know. We don't need to talk about that. But what we do know is they did not they didn't exercise the option on Jacobs' contract for next year. So the question in my head is, when does it become Zamir White's tryout? When do they start saying, okay, we know what we got in Jacobs. We need to see what we got in this rookie. And they start saying, we're preparing for next year. This year is already a scrap.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I like that, Dave. Dave coming in as devil's advocate. I like it.
It's my job here.
PJ, I don't know if we have you out or not, but there's some information you could ponder on and make the decision on your own. If that's something you want to do. Shaquille Martin from YouTube. Pretty sure first-time viewer. If not, I might be mistaken. Shaq. I'm going to call you Shaq because that's a badass name. Someone offered me Dalvin Cook for DeAndre Hopkins. What do you guys think?
Can we get some more info here?
Roster construction's huge on this one.
Yeah, so send us maybe a quick list of who you got already without Hopkins in the lineup, especially PPR, standard, how many teams, what's your current record? That makes a difference too. While you're doing that, Shaquille, we're going to go ahead and answer PJ's second question. He said, should I hold Debo or trade him? We talked about Debo a lot last week. We were worried about, we weren't worried. We were just discussing how big of an impact McCaffrey would have on Debo's production. So far, what's happened?
Well, Debo didn't play this week, so we don't know.
Yeah, well, I don't think it's going to affect Debo at all.
I mean, what we can say is McCaffrey's first week, what did Kittle had 9 catches for 100 and a touchdown? Pretty big week.
I think so.
And he had 5 targets, 3 catches, and 40 yards and a touchdown this week. So you can kind of see that, maybe that volume. Ayuk actually had a good week, didn't he? I wasn't watching, so yeah, I can't really speak.
He had a pretty good week.
So, yeah, I would say, in my opinion, I have Debo in a couple leagues. He was a second rounder, I believe. You're invested in him. I'm invested in him. I'm holding him and hoping on that he's going to come out in those playoff weeks for me and give me the points that I drafted him for.
Yeah.
I think all of the players in San Francisco are obviously good enough to be clear-cut fantasy starters. Debo's got the talent. McCaffrey, hard to not make him running back 1 overall now. Kittle has had 2 really good games in a row. Ayuk is coming on. The question is,
Jimmy G.
Yeah, that's the question. Is Shanahan going to let Jimmy G throw it enough to keep those guys going? Because a ton of McCaffrey's value is in the air. There's only so many targets to go around. I mean, he's got to throw the ball 40 times a game for all of those guys to have a fantasy startable week, and he's got to do it efficiently. I think because of the amount of weapons they have, defenses can't key. He can do it without being an elite talent quarterback, just because who's the defense going to stop? They can't take them all away, and they're all really good players. Week 1 was a good sign. Like Dave said, I'm not discouraged by Debo sitting out because everybody had a good game without him. So I would probably hold him unless you're desperate. I mean, if you have a losing record and you've got to get a player that is going to be healthy next week, I understand. But if you're in a good position, if you're, 6-2 going into this next week, 5-3, I would probably hold Debo for this late season run.
I agree. Weaver's, he says 27 targets, 2 games, talking about Hopkins. Who cares about roster construction? It matters. I understand what you're saying.
Well, when you're talking about
if you need running backs,
Cook, yeah.
If you're desperate for a running back, the dude is also 3-4. And while we talked about maybe he's got receiver help already, he needs additional help in the running back room. I don't know if I would do it straight up, Dalvin Cook for Hopkins. I think I would ask for something else. But if he's in there, he's got Derrick Henry and Jamal Williams at running back.
I'm looking something up real quick.
Yeah. I don't know that I would make the trade straight up. He's already got A.J. Brown and DJ Moore at wide receiver.
He's got DJ. You don't need him. I don't know. At 3 and 4, you're kind of in that.
3 and 4. He's not out of it yet, for sure. A trade here and there could put him over the top. That's for sure. And he's got Amari Cooper.
This is the best time to sell Hopkins. I mean, 14 targets, 13 targets, 10 catches, 12 catches, 260 yards in the last 2 games.
Dave doing math.
I just don't know. That's hard to sustain. I mean, you're talking that's, Cooper Kupp record-setting year last season. That's a wide receiver 1 overall. I would not rank Hopkins wide receiver 1 overall right now. I mean, I can't put him above Kupp. I can't put him above Diggs. I can't put him above Jefferson. Like maybe you get into that Devontae Adams tier, Chase is out for an extended period of time, but that's still a stretch to say he's top 5. And Cook's not there either. Cook's not a top 5 back, but there's so much scarcity at the running back position, especially when we're talking about teams. Who the hell's running the ball in Los Angeles? What is Atlanta doing? Who are these guys? You know, the New York Jets right now, is it Michael Carter? Are they going to lean on James Robinson? Like there are, a fifth of the teams in the NFL that are question marks at running back where you can't start those guys. Dalvin Cook's a sure thing if he's healthy. And it's like, well, yeah, health's the big question. Hopkins missed some time last year with injury. He's 30 years old. Obviously, he looks great right now. So does Cook when he's played. It's really a tough call. I would lean Cook because I don't think you're going to get more value out of Hopkins than you can right now.
Yeah, definitely. You could definitely sell him really high for sure.
But I like the idea of adding something to it, Frank.
Yeah, I was going to say that. Like, don't go overboard and counter with something crazy like, you know, top 2 wide receiver coming back. But you're looking for somebody else you can throw in a flex spot, especially look at bye weeks on the team you're trading with. Somebody that's already had a bye week, somebody that can give you double-digit points a week on your regular scoring. Somebody that you can plug in and play due to an injury. Maybe not a big name, but you're looking for something else, something just to kind of kick it over the edge, and then I would do it. But right now, straight up, I wouldn't. I'd ride the hot hand. You know, you're 3 and 4. You can still make the playoffs in your league. There's a lot of football left, so I don't think you should pull the trigger on that one straight up. But if you can get something decent else, maybe you package in your Jamal Williams and get somebody even better. Send Williams and Hopkins both, and getting 2 guys of greater value combined coming back. So
yeah, and I would, not to harp on it, but I just looked up the Vikings schedule. It's pretty favorable for a healthy Cook the remainder of the year. I think their toughest games are Buffalo and Dallas, but then they're going to go face like the Colts twice, the Lions. Like it's pretty favorable schedule. And the thing that I go between is the Vikings have a better chance of having a favorable game script, where they're going to feed Cook to try and kill time. Kirk Cousins is pretty much the Jimmy G before Jimmy G. Like he's going to do too much at some point. That's going to lose them some games. But if he sticks to the game managing thing, they're going to be successful. Whereas the Cardinals, you don't know what you're going to get. That game script is going to be completely variable. But that could be a plus for Hopkins where, Murray might have to air it out 50 times a game to try and keep him in it, especially with the Geno Smith and the Seahawks putting so many points on the board, the 49ers clicking. So I'm with you guys. I'd say I might talking myself into going and doing the trade for Hopkins if you can get more for it. But at 3 and 4, you just got to pray that the fantasy gods on your side and you get some wins, because
there's a lot of praying going on this show today.
It's that time of year, boys.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. PJ asked. He said, "Should I begin starting DeAndre Swift?" Had a touchdown this past week, I think.
Yeah, he did.
But there's only 5 carries though.
The injury concern's real, man. Like he has missed a ton of time.
Yeah, so what is that, 4 games in a row? And then come back. He was losing carries anyway.
Yeah, what I hate with an injured player, if I got a guy like Mike Williams just got hurt, he's going to be out for the next month. Okay, that's fine. I can deal with that. What I hate is these guys that string out questionables for 5 or 6 weeks and they're no plays, or they dress and then they don't play, or they get 10 snaps and they can't go. Like, that's so hard for fantasy managers to deal with. Obviously, it's hard for that player. I understand.
I hate that crap. I hate it more than
that's the highest priority. But that's where Swift has been, right? It's not been like, hey, we're going to sit him for 4 weeks. It's waiting Saturday morning what's the latest injury report? Has Schefter said anything? Like, it's frustrating. So I would go Mixon over him until I see a week of full participation from Swift.
Yeah, that's for sure. He's getting some targets out of the backfield, but nothing that would warrant consistent. He lucked out into a score. That's pretty much what it amounts to. Shaquille Martin, appreciate the man. Gained a subscriber. I appreciate it. We appreciate it. We're on our way to 100 subscribers. So if you're watching, you haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel, go ahead and do that. At 101 subscribers, Coop's got a surprise for everyone. So let's get
yeah.
Let's get to that. 101. We're going to just surpass 100. Our goal is 101. Coop's got a surprise. Josh, I'm not watching the game, obviously. I'm keeping up with it by score on ESPN on a separate tab. It is what it is. Nick Chubb is really good at what he does. Bengals are currently down 18-0. Turnovers, man. You're inside the red zone 2 times, 3 times already, and don't score. That's a problem. PJ asks, he says, thoughts on Tony Pollard? I love Tony Pollard, but Jerry Jones doesn't for some reason. Did you guys hear that comment he made about Zeke? He says, this is Zeke's team. He's not going anywhere. This team runs through Zeke.
Yeah, it's like every stat. He's got more yards per carry. He's more touchdowns per touch, 28 less touches.
Pollard.
Yeah.
I mean, he's just a better player. This is what we talked about already, like the split carries in the backfield for teams. You're putting so much time and effort in Ezekiel Elliott because you drafted him. You're paying him so much money. But what's he doing for you? Like that Tony Pollard can't do it plus more.
I can't speak for the running game usage, but he is an absolutely elite protection back. That's where most of his value is at this stage in his career. Like, he picks up blitzes like no other running back in the NFL. I don't know why that means you have to hand him the ball 20 times a game, but that's a big value when you have a quarterback that's had injuries like Dak has recently.
Yeah, I can understand that.
Is this just a sign that we need to double down on Jerry Jones just speaking out of his ass? Because, Cooper Rush was the starting quarterback in Jerry's mind after week 1. So maybe we just said, oh, it's Zeke's team. Well, maybe it is Tony's team.
You never know.
He's been saying the same thing all year, Jerry Jones has. Pollard, I think he's a flex play when you need him. He's not an RB1 or 2 because of the situation. He's probably the best handcuff you could have in the NFL right now. Like, even over a Madison or a Hunt, because he can get you every week value. Those are the guys that I love to target. Like, A.J. Dillon is not doing that. That last year he had that every week value and the potential to get a full workload. Tony Pollard is getting that every week value. And if he takes over, we just saw what he's capable of.
Yeah, for sure. Weaver, you're preaching to the choir, big dog. I knew that defense was going to be a problem. Burrow has 2.3 seconds to throw, at least of his career. That's saying something.
That's missing Chase.
I don't even know if it's that. It's it's their defense dialing up some things we just can't pick up. When Samaj P. Ryan has to be on the field as much as he is, that's a problem. That means we got a lot of third downs.
You guys watch Stranger Things?
I do not. I did see the Vecna thing. I know about Stranger Things, but I didn't watch it. Probably something I'm going to do over the winter during Christmas break.
You knew that Myles Garrett was on one tonight.
Oh, he always is. Like Halloween is like his thing. Like, have you seen like his front yard at his house has like gravestones of quarterbacks that he's sacked over the years, and he's got like just it's funny. This year was a Stranger Things one, and he's dressed up as Vecna.
Well, last year he was the Sack Reaper. That was his costume, and he had the names on his like cape.
So awesome. Mason Rudolph on there twice.
He's a monster of a man.
He's so good at football.
If you guys haven't seen it, go try to find some highlights of the NBA All-Star Weekend, the celebrity game. And Myles Garrett doesn't look real out there. He looks like that created player from NFL Street where you just jacked him up. Like you took that slider as far as it could go on muscle, and everybody else is just a child out there.
Yeah. Keith Hall, every time I talk to him, he says my Raiders suck. We just had a conversation about Josh Jacobs, Keith. Pretty good player there. Just not really a good team right now. They have one of the best defensive players in the league in Max Crosby. Have one of the best receivers in the league, Devontae Adams. Hopefully he can stay out of jail. I don't know what y'all know any update on how that's going, the trial or whatever.
It's a misdemeanor. Nothing will happen until the season's over. I don't see him missing time, but
that's dumb anyway. The dude wasn't even hurt.
Yeah.
Antonio Gibson, Dave. Thoughts?
Yeah.
Dave, you got time out. Dave got to go watch. What do you call them? The Manders.
Yeah, the Manders.
The amphibians.
Yeah. So we went to the game yesterday. Got to go celebrate my dad's birthday. That was pretty cool. My first ever NFL game.
Yeah.
And the Manders, Taylor Heineke did Taylor Heineke things and snuck that dub out.
Cannot call them the Manders for anything. They're the commies, hands down.
Hey, they snuck the dub out. That's all that mattered. It was a good day. But I will say it was confusing. Yesterday was weird because, it was two bad offenses with two decent defenses. And Antonio Gibson was returning kicks. He was a starting running back. I don't think we saw Brian Robinson for the first two series. And then it was like, Gibson was 1A, and then Robinson and McKissick were like 1B. It was just a strange offensive approach. Gibson got the touchdown early, I think in the second quarter, I believe. I think the way I look at it is if Carson Wentz is the quarterback, the fantasy stars is probably going to be Brian Robinson and Curtis Samuel. With Taylor Heineke, it's probably going to be more like McLaurin and Gibson because Heineke is going to run for his life. He doesn't sit in that pocket. He doesn't really have that poise about him. And Rivera is just going to give him quick outlets to throw to. And that's where Gibson shines. Whereas, Wentz has that more pocket poise, run it through the tackles, hit the deep shots with Curtis Samuel. So I would say as long as Taylor Heineke, I think we're going to have this conversation of, is this Taylor Heineke's team? Carson Wentz comes back. Is he the starter? I mean,
if Carson Wentz doesn't play a certain amount of snaps this year, that pick changes in that trade. I think it drops to like a third-round pick instead of a second. And if I'm Washington at 4-4, or like winning with Heineke, why not? Why not cut those snaps down? Leave him on IR a little longer and move up in the draft.
Yeah, I totally see it. I'd say to answer Weaver's question, if you got Gibson, I think he's a must start. I think he's an RB2 going forward for the foreseeable future until things, who knows? It could have just been game script and we'll see something different next week, but he looked really good, in my opinion.
Yeah. Dave's got the intel. Him and Dan Snyder are close.
Hey, the one thing I will say is whoever is running, I don't know who the Colts offensive coordinator is, but him and Frank Reich need to be fired because the Indianapolis Colts were the better team yesterday. And Sam Eilinger looked phenomenal. For a guy making his first start, making his first couple throws in the NFL, he looked good. And whoever was calling those plays was absolutely atrocious. I mean, I was sitting there guessing the play calls, and I didn't even play high school football. It was like, oh, they're just going to run Jonathan Taylor right up the middle. Yep, 1 yard. It was so bad. So I think the Colts could make a run here late, but I think they need to make a change with play calling because that was bad. They should have won that game hands down.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that should happen in the NFL that aren't happening. Weaver also asked, he says, would you buy Amon-Ra St. Brown with the expectations he can get back to what he was beginning of the season? The Lions have kind of let me down. I thought they were going to be pretty good, which they're not bad. They just haven't been able to win.
They're 1-6.
But their games, they've got blown out a couple of them for sure. But they're scoring a lot of points. They were the top scoring team in the league at one point. There's talent there.
They did fire their defensive back coach this week after giving up 338 yards to the Miami receivers alone. That does not include tight end and running back receptions. So maybe they can trim that down a little bit going forward.
Hopefully. I just think they have the talent offensively to do something. We talked about Swift already. Jamal Williams is going to do Jamal Williams things and step in and play a good role. Jared Goff is good enough to win football games in the NFL. Pretty solid receiving core. Very young, very underrated overall. But St. Brown obviously headlines that group. As long as he's healthy and in the game, I think you buy him at whatever point you can, because in order for them to win, they're going to have to go to him. Just like any other team with those star receivers. You see what Bengals are doing right now without Jamar Chase. They can't do anything. So if he's on the team and he's playing, start him.
This doesn't make sense, but I'd buy him if I didn't need him. If I've got a winning record and he would be my wide receiver 3, based on limited production coming back, that's when I want him. I want to go get a guy that could, get back to full strength come fantasy playoffs and give my team a boost. Trade somebody who's been consistent but doesn't have the ceiling of St. Brown. But if I've got a losing record, I'm trying to make moves to get into the playoffs, he's not a guy I want. I don't want those question marks on my team when I'm trying to make a push after a slow to mediocre start to the season.
Yeah, Hunter comes in with a comment from YouTube. He's like, hey, guys, took a tough loss next week. I don't know if you've tuned in recently or was with us at the beginning of the show, but guess what? All 3 of us took losses this week in our league. And I had AJ Brown on my team. How do you lose, right? How do you lose with AJ Brown on your team this week? I don't know, but I did.
Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah.
That's how you lose.
Who would have thought that I would get to the point where I want to start Khalil Herbert over Jonathan Taylor? You can't do that. And you can't do that in fantasy football.
I lost this week, and I'm totally fine with it.
I'm about to.
My team was okay. The guy I'm playing may have the highest scoring week of the season. Again, we have a different scoring format, bigger rosters, double PPR. He's at 426 right now and climbing. He's got Chubb. He's got Chubb in this game. He had McCaffrey. He had Tony Pollard. It was just one of those matchups where I'm like, okay, I'll take it. I've been beat.
Do y'all think the Bengals are losing because I thought about wearing my Trey Hendrickson jersey on this show?
No, I think they're losing because you aren't wearing your Trey Hendrickson jersey.
That's a lie. We have not won a single game the day I wore the jersey. Started with the Super Bowl. Bought it the week before Super Bowl. Wore it for the Super Bowl. We lost. Wore it for the first 2 weeks of this season. Lost both those games. Took it off. We started winning. Won 4 of the last 5. We're getting our teeth kicked in right now. It's not. It's terrible. Not a good football weekend for your boy. Just put it that way. Hunter says everyone on my opponent's team put up 20-plus points. His kicker scored 18. You get that on them big jobs, dude. You get that on them big jobs.
I hope it was your bye weeks. I hope you had a lot of Chiefs. So back to St. Brown.
Hold on, we were sweating this one out, Phil. Number 4? Something for Mixon. I hope you get it, buddy.
Yeah,
he'll get a garbage time score for you. You're going to win this week, Weaver. I'm putting it in the cloud. You're going to win. Mixon's going to get you a score. He's going to get a check down scramble for about 25 yards. We're going to have to throw it deep to Higgins, and then we're going to run it in.
He's got 4 catches. He's saving his day with the pass catching a little bit.
That's what I'm saying. That's how he's going to get his points. He's going to get check down.
They're for 4 yards. Or 4 catches for 5 yards.
Well, it's because they threw it backwards in the first quarter and lost 7 yards on a play. Ooh, Hunter said his opponent's running backs were McCaffrey and Kamara. That'll get you.
It was refreshing to see a high-scoring week in the NFL. Like, scores were up across the board this week, and I feel like year to date, before this, they've been down. So, even though we all came away with the loss, like I had some guys that had big weeks. ETN was one we talked about. Kyle Pitts, you just had to wait it out. Kyle Pitts is back. He's good. He's an every week must start.
He just showed up. He's not back.
He's here.
He just now got here.
He just showed up.
No,
he was never here.
Last season,
he had one score.
It doesn't matter. He had good games. You don't have to score a touchdown every week at tight end.
I agree with that. And you're not most of the time you're not going to get scores from the tight end spot.
Where's Kyle Pitts for your rest of the season? I want to rank. We can play a name game. We can pick either or.
He's probably still 3, 4.
Wait, Kyle Pitts?
In terms of tight ends?
That's what I'm saying. I'm asking you guys.
Do you agree with that? 3 or 4 still? Kelsey number 1, Andrews number 2. Andrews not had very good weeks, but neither is Kyle Pitts. I love Dave's doing math face. Look at him.
Oh yeah, I'm writing names down right now. We're doing the name game.
Zach Ertz, Kyle Pitts.
Is that your number 1, number 2?
Oh, I'm asking.
Oh. I'm gonna take the guy on the better football team.
Which is, I don't know the answer to that question right now.
Yeah, what?
Oh, I'm thinking about Dallas Goedert. I'm thinking about Zach Ertz playing for the freaking Eagles. Don't listen to me, fellas. I'm dumb. Oh, yeah, I'm picking Kyle Pitts.
Okay, Zach Ertz is the number 3 tight end on the year. And you'd still do Pitts over him. TJ Hawkinson.
I have Hawkinson in front of Pitts.
Okay. I'm not disagreeing with you guys. I just want to know where you have him ranked.
Weaver, were you on the show when I told you that I picked up Greg D? I like him. He's a baller.
Taysom Hill or Kyle Pitts?
That's Taysom. That's dumb.
Hey, Taysom Hill, I saw has been changed. I think it was Yahoo is now listed at QB tight end. I think I'm taking Taysom Hill over Pitts right now, just from the variable. You don't know what you're going to get from Taysom Hill.
But why? I mean, you're not going to play him at quarterback.
Well, no, he's straight tight end. That's what I'm saying is he's going to take wildcat snaps at least.
Oh,
more, and you're going to get that.
But is it wildcat if he's playing quarterback anyway? Like, you call it
you have to view him as a flex running back. When you're thinking about how to view Taysom Hill, you're thinking about his change of pace running back touches. That's where his value lies.
He is that bottom, he is that team rated ranked tight end that you're praying to God he gets a touchdown. That's how I view him. He's a touchdown or nothing guy.
I agree with that.
This is Tony Pollard when he's 30, still with the Cowboys playing a backup role. We know he's electric when he gets it. How many times are they going to give it to him?
Sean Payton's going to be the head coach. He's going to know how to run that offense.
Yeah. I started thinking about all this in terms of like multiple position guys in fantasy football. How cool would it be to play in a league where there were no positions? You just had 7 or 8 spots to fill. Could be any player, any position, any combination of players. Would you enjoy playing in a league like that?
Depends on my draft pick.
Same type of setup, same scoring. There's no positions. It's positionless.
I think it would be hard to do no positions. I think you could do quarterbacks and position players. I think you have to separate quarterbacks because there's such a point advantage at that position.
I say no positions. If you want to draft 4 quarterbacks in a row, draft them.
Listener League next year, positionless, all flex, super flex. Every position is a super flex.
Every position is a super flex.
That would be so fun.
You want to play a kicker? You want to play a defense? You got to give up a wide receiver. You got to give up your quarterback.
If you're watching, if you're one of the viewers, first of all, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, go ahead and do that now. We're on our way to 100. When we get to 101, Coop's got something special to show you guys. Let's just leave that. Let your imagination run wild. If you would be interested in joining a listener league, positionless, totally positionless, all positions are super flexes. Snake draft. How many roster spots? 16 roster spots.
Let's go crazy. Let's make it auction. Let's not do snake.
I've never done an auction draft before.
Why not? Let's do it.
Snake draft. Number 1 pick goes to who can bench press 225 the most times.
That's not how. You're going to get listeners killed. We don't have waivers for that.
Hey, Weaver's in. Christian Brewer's on there. He's in too.
All right, we'll work the details out.
Christian, you are not bench. You couldn't get off the rack. I'm just playing around it. Reen Jason says, well, I'm last. He says it's a terrible idea. I kind of agree with you. He also said he's 3-5, thinks it's over.
No.
Anything can happen, fellas. I've seen some crazy stuff happen. You just make a move here and there, it could change your whole outlook. Don't just sit at 3-5 and be complacent. Go out and make some moves. I say that, and here I am. What's my record going to be?
See, I'm right there with them in one league where I'm 3-5. The
I'm about to be 4-4.
Top 3 guys are far and above the best teams in the league. You know, they're healthy. They got the waiver wire picks. They've made some trades, and you know, I think it's just time for. If you honestly think it's over, it's time to start looking for next year. I'm not sure if your league can trade picks or you know, if you keep a keeper or something like that. But you know, I hate to say it, but sometimes there is a time to kick that can down a little bit farther and help yourself out. And that's kind of where I'm at in the league, where I made some big moves and I don't have a second round pick right now for next year. And I think if I lose next week and I go to 3-6, I might give up Cooper Kupp to try and get my number 2 back, because I'm not trying to lose this year and start off bad next year.
Yeah, sounds like a plan, Dov.
It's unfortunate.
DeVito. Oh man, fellas. Anything else happening in the world? I mean, man, the Bengals, man. We done anything since? Nope. End of the 3rd. I don't know. It's hard being a football fan right now.
No, it's not. It's great. The Manders won, baby.
They're not the Manders, Dave. They're the Commies, and you know it. Cats got beat to death.
We don't need that on here.
Beat to death.
But
it's basketball season.
That's what I was about to say. We are going to have to start getting maybe a 10-minute segment in here on some college basketball as we roll into that season. We all love fantasy football, but I think as far as fandom goes, college basketball is where all of us are the most personally invested.
Yeah.
So we'll definitely keep our fantasy content here for you guys. We'll carry it on throughout the offseason, but we're going to have a little college basketball talk on here, especially highlighting that preseason number 1, National Player of the Year, preseason pick, multiple all ACC selected.
Yeah, that's a good thing. Those of you guys that have kind of been tuning in week to week and seeing us and watching us and communicating with us and hanging out, fantasy football only lasts a certain amount of time. There has to be something else going on. You know, we based our show off of the early streams, and we didn't really stream until a couple months ago. But we based most of our stuff off of like current events happening in sports. We did like some WNBA. We did NASCAR for a while. Just different things every show, talking about random topics. That's what it's going to primarily be about. So if you guys like that, continue to tune in. You guys can always offer us some things to talk about. You know, hit us up on Twitter. Those guys have their Twitter handles readily available. But for now, we're going to stick to fantasy football. We might throw a little bit of things other than fantasy football in with it, with college, football, obviously, and then college basketball starting up as well. A lot of things to talk about in the world of sports, and we are a sports podcast. So we're going to talk about sports. So talking about more fantasy football, Reen Chasen says Dak, JT, Barkley, Boyd, Evans, Njoku, Pierce, and can't get a win. Like, what the freak?
Well, Dak's just getting back to form, so that's been a huge
JT has been a humongous letdown so far. I have him too. I know the feeling. I know the pain. And I may bench him next week, and if I do, I'll let you know how that goes. So if I bench him, you start him because he's going to do good. I guarantee it. Weaver talked about Louisville losing their exhibition game. We're Louisville haters here, so if you're from Louisville, I'm sorry. Not if you're from Louisville.
Hey.
If you cheer for Louisville, that's different. I like people from Louisville. I don't like Louisville Cardinals.
Let's give some D2 love to Lenore Ryan, though.
Holla at your boys.
Holla at them. Missing their 2 top scoring leaders from last year, and they go out and whip that ass. I love it. Man, I love Kenny Payne, but that's a tough look for game 1.
I love when those teams get paid to win. You know what I mean? Like they got they left with a bag.
Oh yeah, like hundreds of thousands of dollars. Anyway, when's Jahan Dotson back? Question from Hunter.
It's not looking good. They said he hasn't even practiced yet. Riverboat Ron said his hamstring's still tight. I don't like it. They play Minnesota next week, Philly the week after that, Houston the week after that. My guess would be Houston. I don't think they're going to put him out there against a good Vikings or Eagles defense just to have him get hurt again. I think they're going to kick that can to week 11 because we're not good. They know they're not good. Jahan Dotson is good, so he might be back whenever Wentz comes back because they had pretty good connections. So I could see that kind of lining up together, but I wouldn't count on them for the next few weeks.
And they got a really late bye, which sucks. I don't like these week 14, week 15 byes.
No, especially late. It's like playoff time.
Week 14 might be the last week.
Yeah, week 14 is the last week, and then 15 should be the start of the playoffs, unless you have a weird playoff system like we used to.
Yeah.
Ring Jason said he wavered the Broncos tight end this week and still couldn't win. That's fine. It happens. Don't drop him, though. Keep that tight end. Keep Greg D. He's one of the more favorable ones so far. McPherson missed a PAT. That's not good. Anyway.
Who scored?
That's a good question. Let's look that up.
Tyler Boyd.
Hey, Tyler Boyd is having a hell of a few weeks, fellas. Starting to creep into that starting spot in people's lineups. If you got Tyler Boyd rostered, probably need to find a spot for him.
T. Higgins having a great game.
That's a little sarcasm there.
Yeah.
Speaking of T. Higgins, Griffin is from YouTube. Appreciate the comment. Griffin, if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. We'd love it. If you would, we're on our way to 100. Trade Higgins and Henderson for Olave and Cooks.
2 for 8 for Higgins.
Yeah. Ridiculous.
Cooper, you answering this one.
I'm really interested to see where Cooks is going. It sounds like he's almost a for sure out of Houston. The name I've heard most often has been the Rams, which makes me think they're not going to bring back OBJ. I've seen like 2 or 3 different reports that said they've been asking about Brandon Cooks. Regardless, even if he stayed in Houston, I like having 2 players that I can put in my roster. So I would take Olave and Cooks. I think Olave has been pretty solid. He didn't have the greatest week, but once Jameis comes back, he gets an upgrade if they will give the ball back to Jameis. I know he's pretty much healthy now. They're just not letting him throw it.
The Red Rifle taking over.
Yeah.
Anyway, I would take that trade. I would have Olave and Cook coming back. Even if Cook does go to another team, he's a solid player. Somebody like the Rams need. I don't know if they need another wide receiver. I mean, they've tried it. They've got Allen Robinson. They've got freaking Van Jefferson and Cooper Kupp. And, oh, well, be like the Chiefs. Just grab them all. One of them bound to hit. Speaking of wide receivers, Pittman won't continue 40% target share. What do you think? Will he be okay with what you saw from Ehlinger?
Pittman had a huge drop at the end of the game there. I think he had a decent game. So, 40% target share is huge. And they don't really have many other targets. I mean, Alex Pierce is a good pickup, but, he's still a rookie. Mo Alley Cox is their tight end 1, I believe.
Yeah.
A lot of
name team.
Campbell had a couple good games.
Yeah. And I think you were very high on Pittman at the start of the year, right, Coop?
Yeah.
I think everybody was. I mean, you got to pick up that one wide receiver on every team that you got. That's their go-to guy. It's Pittman. I don't think that changes.
I think he's okay. I think he's, like Dave said, he's just the elite talent in the room.
And this is where I said the Colts OC needs to be fired, because I think Erlinger threw one ball 20 yards down the field, and he completed the pass. So he is more mobile than Matt Ryan. That offense needs to be more like probably like a Arizona Kyler Murray situation, moving around the pocket, have him sling it, not just be a safe offense where it's 3 and out 4 times in the half. So I think things are looking up.
Pretty mobile too.
Yeah.
Question from Mr. Curly Wolf, returning viewer, if I'm not mistaken. Appreciate you coming back, hanging out with us. Should I drop Schultz for Rondale Moore? He's got Everett and Freiermuth. I don't think you need 3 tight ends on your roster. I think Schultz is probably trending upwards. Saw some targets this week from Dak Prescott. There's a reason why he was in the top 10 of preseason. Injury kind of derailed that a little bit at the beginning. I do think he will get targets from Dak Prescott. I just don't know about Rondale Moore consistently. Thoughts, fellas?
I'd drop a tight end, but I think it would be Everett out of those 3.
Yeah, I wouldn't drop Schultz. I have Everett. That's because I made the mistake of drafting Cole Kmet. So we won't talk about that anymore on this show. Just know that I regret every single second of it. Haven't even looked at a single stat he's had since I've dropped him. I know he's still on the waivers in most leagues. Probably should be. But yeah, there's no reason why you have to have 3. I would get rid of one of the other ones. Everett is probably the go-to there. Freiermuth is getting some looks there for sure. Hunter from YouTube also says, is there any underrated defense? And he says that's on most waiver wires.
So this is why I was laughing a second ago. I saw the question headed and I was looking some stuff up. So I went to like high scoring defenses this week because, a common thing to do is look at the streaming matchups, right? That's what a lot of people do. The number 1 scoring defense this week so far, ranked 29th on the season, is the Cleveland Browns. They put up 15 points so far against Cincinnati.
Love it.
Yeah, that's what I would look at. Look at the matchups. Out of the top 10 scoring defenses this week, they only played one offense that was ranked top 10. Does that make sense? Like at Indianapolis was a top 10 defense. Against New England was a top 10 defense. Against Chicago was a top 10 defense. Against Pittsburgh was a top 10 defense. So it's not so much who has a great D. We know the Cowboys are good. The Niners are good. Yeah, you want to find a defense that's playing a bad team, and you can pretty much do that every week.
Yeah, so Hunter, what we're saying is go look at the matchups. Don't look at the defense per se. Look at who they're playing. Look at how that team has fared against defenses in the league so far. Maybe go look at overall games. Yeah, that game's over. Weaver, I'm sorry. Go look at those matchups. Look at points per game for defenses. It might be a good option just to pick it up and drop every week based on what's available.
If
you're lucky enough to have one consistently that you can trust, but I don't know.
I got a team I'm liking right now, just based off their schedule. We've been busting their offense, but the Los Angeles Rams, they have an elite defense. I mean, Aaron Donald has been defensive player of the year 3 or 4 times now. I mean, their schedule looks favorable if the status quo continues. I mean, they have Tampa Bay, who's looked bad. Arizona, you don't know what you're going to get. Saints have relatively not put up points until last week. Kansas City, Seattle, but then you have Vegas, the Packers, the Broncos. I think if you're looking for a solid defense that has favorable matchups moving forward, they're only owned in 35% of the leagues. could be a good look that someone you could get cheap if you don't want to play the matchups every week.
Yeah. So there's that advice from Dave. Christian sent in a question from YouTube. He's not a football question, but who do you think Kentucky's offensive coordinator will be fired after this year? I did read something today. I don't know. I didn't really look at the source. It was a Kentucky website. I don't know if it was KSR or not, but they said that Stoops basically told me, he's like, whatever this is, you need to get it fixed quick. So I don't have a lot of trust in him. I didn't realize how much we'd miss Liam Cohen until Liam Cohen was gone, and now we can't do anything offensively with, a first round projected. I don't see it, but I don't know why he's being projected. I love Will Levis. I think he's really good. He's got a great personality for a college quarterback. Obviously, he's got a good skill set.
If you ever lead off a player evaluation with he's got a great personality, he is not a first-round draft pick.
So he's got a great personality. Great. I guess I meant to say mentality of being a. Weaver, just leave it, dude. Just leave the chat. I
think Scangarello. I mean, he's an NFL guy. He doesn't have that college background, and he's used to having professional linemen. And I think that can easily be said that our line sucks.
And if you think about one of our offensive linemen from last year is starting with the Jacksonville Jaguars right now as a rookie. We send guys to the league constantly.
3 linemen drafted from last year's team or 2? I know at least 2 were drafted.
Kennard got drafted.
Fortner got drafted. I thought there was a 3rd. Maybe not.
The big blue wall is in the NFL. I hate when ESPN, everybody talks about the big blue wall. It's like, they're gone. They're not there anymore. You just got to watch the games. I think Scangarello has a leash, but it's you better go get your dudes in there, and next year better be better. I mean, I don't know who's going to be quarterback, but I think he's got a little bit of a leash. It's the only year 1. Granted, expectations aren't where they're at,
right?
But
I would argue that recruiting has definitely improved. Obviously, you're getting more talented players. The defense looks like it can keep you competitive most of the time in an SEC game. When they're losing, it's because the offense is shooting themselves in the foot.
And the defense is staying on the field.
They're not
freaking game.
I don't think they're bringing in SEC weapons on the offensive side of the ball. Chris Rodriguez has been really good for a while.
They're bringing in wide receiver weapons, and we've not really been able to use them. We have SEC wide receivers.
I don't know, man. They just don't look the same.
I'm telling you, we do. Barryon Brown and Dane Key are SEC wide receivers. You can't tell me different. They've got elite speed, size. If you notice, nobody's going to kick it to Barryon Brown anymore. He returns a punt or a kickoff every freaking game. Most of the time there's a penalty, but he's getting there. But we could go on a whole another hour talking about UK football, but we're not going to do that because a lot of our guys or a lot of our viewers out there don't really even pay attention to that. But we're about to wrap up the show, so if you guys have any last burning questions, we've been on here for an hour and almost 14 minutes now. It's almost 11 o'clock Eastern time. Dave's still got another hour behind us, but it's okay. Bengals are getting that tail spanked for good reasons. So if you got any last burning questions, go ahead.
I got one.
And throw it out. Coop, is there a reason your camera's off, buddy?
Yeah, I had a kid come in the room.
Show him, dude. My kids are asleep.
Oh, I'll get it back. What do you guys think about Lamar going forward? He's dropping week by week. He's dropping in the rankings. I think he's QB 5 or 6 now.
I feel real bad about that, Coop.
No, I'm not like how I'm handling it, but where do you rank him for the rest of the season?
Oh, I don't know.
Is he still a top 3 quarterback? Is he just
I think he could be eventually. I think he's in a dry spell right now. I don't know what it is. I think the pressure could be getting to him in terms of, it's a contract year, so he's trying to make a name for himself and get that money, which he deserves every single dollar that he's going to get. He should probably become the highest paid player of all time this summer. But that's just my opinion. He's a Louisville guy. I don't like Louisville, but the dude's a freaking fantastic football player. He deserves everything. And, you put some pieces around him. Who exactly? I was getting ready to say the same thing. Who does he have to throw the ball to? Like, they need a wide receiver.
Mark Andrews.
That's it.
So let me flip it. You got Lamar. There's only 2 names out there I can think of at quarterback that are really comparable. Allen's in a tier by himself. You can't touch him.
He's at the top.
Jalen Hurts and Patrick Mahomes are the
Derek
only
Carr.
2. What do we? What?
I'm just kidding.
Are you? Would you flip Lamar for either of them? Would you take both? Like, I think Hurts is QB2 rest of the season. He's QB2 right now in scoring, I believe.
Hurts might get you more yards in the air for sure, week to week. But Lamar might rack up them touchdowns, dude. Like, just rack them up.
You think Mahomes is still on the outside looking in because he doesn't have the rushing upside?
I think Mahomes can do some fantastic things with the ball in his hands, and I just don't know. I just don't know if he's going to be able to duplicate the amount of fantasy points we're looking to get out of a quarterback week to week. He's not going to give you as much as those other guys will. Is he a better quarterback, or are those guys better overall quarterbacks? Well, probably not.
No.
Probably not. But in terms of fantasy value and fantasy output, he's probably 4 or 5 on the list, maybe.
Yeah.
Christian, buddy, thanks for tuning in. Love you. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Go Cats. Christian is, if you guys don't know Christian Brewer, he's the one guy that comes to football games with us at UK games. We all have season tickets together. Tailgating. Christian shows up, says hi, leaves, never see him again until the game starts. I don't know where he goes. He just disappears. But yeah, I agree with, Lamar's every top 5, but I if I had a choice, I'd probably take Jalen Hurts over him for sure. And Josh Allen, obviously.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think he's a guy that you ride with, unless you can get Josh Allen. But
if you're not going to get anybody better because you're not going to be able to trade for anybody better.
Well, no,
that's what I was saying. How would you rank those 3 basically if you think Lamar is falling behind either one of them?
I don't think, in my opinion, I would say they're all 2A, 2B, 2C in no order. I think any one of those could be number 1 quarterback each week. I think Lamar's just hit a stretch where he played in unfavorable defenses that keyed in on him and had good linebackers that could spy him, and his wide receivers core is his wide receiver core. But I think going down the stretch, I think he faces some easier defenses that will help him out. But, will Devin Duvernay still, average a touchdown a game? I don't know. Was Mark Andrews going to be fully healthy? I don't know. But it's still Lamar Jackson. I wouldn't, in a contract year where I would say he has kind of produced for that money. So I wouldn't bet against him right now, unless it's for Josh Allen. Then I would.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody be put in that position. I don't think. Nobody's going to willingly trade either one of those people for straight up, like
Justin Jefferson.
Yeah, nobody would. People would be stupid. People would just be straight up stupid to trade Lamar Jackson for anybody or any amount of players in return. Although it's not those 2 big names that won the trade. It's Travis Etienne, that bastard. Anyway, we're wrapping up the show. It's time to go to bed. We appreciate everybody tuning in today. If you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel, please do that now. We're on our way to 100. We're looking to buy some hats. Pretty soon we're going to be having rocking some Trifecta Sports merch on the show. So help us get to 100. That don't mean anything to us, but that's just a goal we've set. We've been in this thing.
It means everything to us, Frank. It means everything.
I meant the hats, Dave.
Oh, no, I meant the followers.
Oh, the followers mean everything. The subscribers mean everything. That means you guys like what you see and what you hear, and you just click that button because you like us. We appreciate the love. But anyway, we've been in this thing for almost a year now. We need D'Ernest Johnson on this drive. Weaver, dude. I hope. We're praying. It's the 3rd time we prayed in this show, just to let you know. But we're getting ready to wrap it up. Let us know next week how it worked out for you. All right. Love you guys. Peace.